This weekend, just chill. Just sit at home and lay low, because that energy, man, I'm telling you, this right here is the energy, like, especially if you're going out and trying to have a good time. And usually when people are going out, honestly, what are they doing?
Right.
They're going out to try to meet somebody.
Yeah.
And most of the people out there, especially the men, sorry, men seem to be a little bit worse about this than women usually. They're not looking for anything serious.
It's true. I mean, we were just talking about it right before we got on this. It's like, when you look, I was just saying, like, oh man, I'm 39. You look back at life too. And it's just like, are we all really as pure-hearted as we all want to say we are? We could totally be like, no, I'm just going out to hang out. But really, it's like, there's always some underlying thing that we always all have. And that's what the devil card is like, especially when it's got this like passion that looks so good to us too. And like there's passions that look good that are positive and spiritual. Those are other cards. The one that is literally the one where it's very self-serving. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those things to where it's dog eat dog too, to me. It's kind of like when guys fight over a chick, or they might fight over drugs, or they might fight over some sort of thing. It's like, oh, I thought you were my friend. The next thing you know, it's just like, no, I'm bailing on you. I'm going with this chick, and we were going here, but I'm not going there anymore. I'm going to do this. While he's also at the same time about to fuck that chick over and be like, I am so into you. Mm-hmm. I can totally handle being with you. And then ghosting. So it's like you just fucked your friend over, and then you're fucking the chick over. I guess with the devil card, he did get to fuck the chick, though, too. I mean, weird card,
Yeah, it's all about pleasure. We talked about this in other episodes, pleasure. Like that, I really think the past 5 decades or so have been really, really hardcore programming us to run for pleasure.
Yeah.
So like there's no one size fits all for any of this, but usually I say about 90% of the time, anytime something is disguised as immediate pleasure, you want to watch out for it.
I agree.
Whether it's a bunch of money or a drug that feels real good.
Yep.
It's always pleasure first and pain later, or pain first and pleasure later. It's that dualistic dynamic of the way energy is set up to function in this dimension. Everything is dualistic,
Yeah, and that's where that toxicity comes in, because it's a toxic loop, no matter what, like frequency-wise, as you even always put it to people, like you're at the frequency that is going to match yours. So the devil card, that pleasure might look good, but it might be the lowest frequency, and it's unfortunate because we all go through it. It's definitely, we've been talking about shadow a lot. The moon card definitely has a lot of that shadow stuff. The devil, though, is when you're like fully in the knowing of the shadow fully. That moon card, we could be subconsciously too, but it's like we're kind of maybe suppressing it more. The devil's not a suppression situation at all. It's like I am fully going after this toxic frequency intentionally to manifest it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why this card trips me out is the fucking chains of it's the two lovers, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And they're fucking chained, so it's the toxic relationship. Yeah. Which that's the toxic loop cycle you usually see. You usually end up in a toxic relationship with all the toxic loop situation you go into it. Oh, you want to play with drugs? Okay, you played with this guy this random person came into your life that ended up getting into a relationship. It's like the fucking, it's a much more than one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I like that you said loop too, because I have to explain that to my clients and my audience a lot, is that a lot of times that word toxic gets thrown out there. Like, for example, a couple gets into an argument, and a reasonable argument, just bickering. I'm not talking about domestic violence or anything like that, but bickering. That one argument in and of itself isn't necessarily intrinsically toxic. Ideally, we come together, we butt heads, we don't see eye to eye on something, we go back and forth, and then we both come to a place where it's like, okay, I'll work on this, you work on that, we overcome it, and then we move up to the next level, and that argument goes away. It probably will never come back again. If it does, rarely. But what typically tends to happen is that we keep looping around, and that same argument keeps happening every day. and then multiple times a day. And then you're just bathing and basking in that energy all day, every day, and it spirals out of control. That's when it starts to turn incredibly toxic.
And addictive. Like, that's the whole thing is like, you know, Britney Spears' Toxic, you know, I remember being in a toxic relationship when that song came out. But boy, I whatever it took. That's what sucks is it becomes to where you start losing, like, where you're not, I wasn't focusing on myself at all. That's the other thing about the devil. It's like, if you think about it, it's like the devil's wanting all of you, no matter what. So when it comes to manifesting anything good in your life, you're really not doing anything at all of that. Even though it seems like you're doing things like you're manifesting a toxic relationship, well, you might manifest the passion of that, which comes with so much pain. This card comes with the pain that people sometimes don't realize, or they don't even realize they're in, you know? Because when you're in those toxic loops or you're in those situations, it's not even just the one loop. There's so many running at the same time, whether it's the toxic relationship. Oh, it's also the toxicity of the addiction of the drug that you two might be on, or the addiction of the fight that you love so much. And then that replays out your work, where now you're starting to take it out on a coworker, or you don't even have a job anymore, and now you're blaming it all on the toxic relationship, even though you're part of it too. And then you start putting everybody as toxic, even though you're the most toxic one. This card can be so holy fuck. There's so much to cover on it, because it really is like a very dark side of the moon moment of life that we're all like, what the fuck's really going on? And at the same time, it's like, maybe we need to start just looking around at how people are acting all the time and not forget that, you know, like, you just have to be aware of your boundaries of when you can feel this frequency, because no matter what the fucking weird shit is going around, at this point, you have to just first pay attention to the thing that could actually sink you in. This is a card that has teeth that can sink you in, that you need to stay away from in life, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it all goes back to pleasure. Like, if you look at it, you think about it, all the things that all of our motivations in life, whether we want to get up and make a bunch of money, whether we want to get into a relationship, whether we want to get a raise at our job or get a promotion or get that brand new car, the way we've been so trained to think is that I need to get the thing because that thing is going to bring me some pleasure. And here's the example that I always give my audience. Like, with relationships, the majority of the people that I deal with in my line of work are all people who have reverse manifested relationships. They got into a relationship because they've been programmed to believe that you have to get the relationship first, and that's going to create true love and true passion. And that's not the way that it works. The way it really works is the primary law is the law of vibration. The secondary law is the law of attraction. What that means is you only attract according to the frequency that you vibrate at. So if you take a look at humanity, most people who are out here, especially in the dating world, what frequency are they vibrating at? Loneliness, brokenness, and emptiness. We've talked about this a million times. So like, here's the example that I give. Have you ever maybe seen somebody who, for whatever reason, went a long time without a car?
Yeah.
Ever seen that?
And I've been through that before.
Yeah, and the whole time they're like, I just need a car. I just need a car. I don't care what kind of car it is. And then finally, 6 months later, they luck into a car. And they're like, yes, and they're so happy.
Right.
For a little bit. And then 6 months later, 8 months later, oh, the front end looks stupid. I don't like the taillights. The rims are ugly. The fucking steering wheel makes this funny thing. And they're bitching about it. Because what that car gave them in the beginning was a feeling of pleasure.
Yeah.
And relationships are no different.
Yeah.
People are out there lonely and empty and broken, and they're like, I just need somebody to love me. I just need somebody to love me. I don't care who it is. I just need a faceless, nameless somebody to come love me as soon as possible. And that's going to make all my problems go flying out the window. And then finally, somebody comes into their life and loves them. And they're like, yes, somebody loves me. And they're so happy. For a little bit. And then like 6 months later, oh, you snore too much, you fart too loud, you always leave the fucking towel on the floor, and blah, 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 blah. And then that's when it starts to turn toxic, because it wasn't a relationship you were looking for. You're looking for true love and true happiness. But we've been so programmed to believe that you have to get the thing, and that's going to create the feeling. And it doesn't. This is pleasure, which is very short-lived and very temporary. And we're so addicted to that pleasure feeling that I think most people live in this delusion that they're going to get a relationship or a certain amount of money or whatever the case may be, and that's going to somehow trigger a permanent pleasure response, I guess.
Yeah, like pleasure that's infinite, that's nonstop, that lasts forever, which is like really sad because that becomes like a place to where you don't really get to experience life anymore. You would never like it. I mean, if you're anybody who's ever really gone through the devil card, especially with addiction, let's say, right? Like you can talk to any addict. We all as addicts have reached places to where it's like, there is the irony in it is the pleasure at the beginning is great. The road down that road is that you're trying to rechase that pleasure and it never fucking comes back. That is the fucking, that's hard. And you know, what's the best part about the devil card though, I do feel, is when you're aware that you're in the chains and you do something about it. The actual passion to get out of that cycle and get away from that energy. And that's what really, you know, there's some true strength in this card, but that same strength is weird because it can also be used to go towards that infinite idea of pleasure or gain. And I feel like when it comes to a lot of what you just said, especially in these, whether it's relationships or it's the relationship we want to have, like you brought up a car, right? It's like people don't realize like they'll get what they manifest, but was it for the right intention? Yeah. Like, you know, like, so it's like, I need this. I want this. And to me, this is the card that represents the true mask. It almost feels like it's a mask that turns into whatever you want it to look like, but it just, not even just slowly, but very quickly fades into the same devil. Like, you're like, oh God, what did I do again? You have to, you know, it sucks because all of us in our lives, many ways have to face this in our life many times in order to go through the awakening experience. And it's a hard one. And, you know, at the same time, too, it's one of those weird things where people are so afraid of the literal devil, yet the devil is what you identify with and you do with your own self and the shit that you do. So you're the devil yourself that you become, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And like in today's day and age where it's like so brilliant. How do you convince humans? How do you control humans?
Right.
Tell humans that the power that they were given. Have you heard people try to break down and explain that reading tarot cards is the devil? That astrology is the devil?
Yes.
That all these things, it's like, how much sense does this make? This God created you to be an incredibly powerful individual, but you better not use it. You better not use that power he gave you.
Right.
If you use that power God gave you, that's the devil. And people believe this shit. That's the devil. If that makes any sense. I know that sounds kind of paradoxical, but
I mean, it's interesting even where it's derived from and so forth. It's a very hard thing for people to grasp of really what the devil is, because it's one of it is mainly the mind, the trickster within yourself, where you trick yourself from being in a good space, aligning with good and high frequencies. But people take it so literal as like there's this physical presence of this beast that's walking around somewhere that's pulling on you. And when it's like, no, you're the conduit, right? The magician card teaches us in tarot that, you know, as a human soul, we are the conduit from the divine to this material matrix matter place that we're living in. So if that is the frequency that you want to become, we're watching walking fallen angels all around. It's not like there's one fallen angel. People themselves become the fallen angels because they literally, and the idea of the fallen angel is just literally falling the frequency from the higher frequency and owning that frequency and becoming that conduit of that. I mean, we're all conduits here, and understanding frequency is so easy to understand. You know, if you want to tune to the devil fucking dark station, people tune there all day and they chase it. It's a chase like any, okay, like I'm sorry to say, but people don't chase tarot and astrology. You know what I mean? Or even spirituality. People don't chase that shit. You know, they're out chasing look at that fucking random person at 7-Eleven right now. And ooh, I could do that. And oh, what are you doing afterwards? What do you know, like they chase things that are right in front of them that are the opposite of what's told as dark, because the devil disguises. It's a mask.
Yeah.
It's a frequency mask that parades as this high frequency that's going to feel good, but really behind it, it's actually got no frequency. It like literally just like drops you off to just a plateau of emptiness and suffering and pain. So that's the whole thing, the illusion of the mask that it presents, you know, that it looks like it's something. And you have to know how to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't look good. Like everything over the last 3.5 years was the biggest mask of turning people and themselves into the devil to become authoritarian. Like, how dare you walk out of your house right now? Oh my God. So when people right now are being like, the devil is everywhere, I'm like, the devil was all over the fucking place, and it was every single fucking person that was falling for the spell and not wanting to live in a high frequency with others, wanting to be like, put your mask on, which that's what I thought was so funny. It was like the devil would always wear a mask. It always tries to mask itself. It was right in front of people's faces. They were turning people crazy. Fucking wild, dude.
I mean, I think they were already crazy. That's the fucked up part about it. That's what
I know.
That's what blew my mind about the whole thing. I know I've talked about this before, but still, I still can't think back on it and wrap my mind around how anybody fell for that.
I know.
And I know that sounds kind of rhetorical to say, but like with every fiber of my being, I did not think that humanity was that stupid. And maybe stupid's not the right word. I don't mean to be condescending when I say that, but this you have to think about it. You have to think about it. It's not going to manifest itself looking like this. Even if there was a literal devil, some dude who lived underground where it was on fire, he's not going to send his fucking minions up looking like this.
No.
That'd be stupid. Of course he's going to disguise it as something that looks so great and feels so great. And it does feel great at first. You know, like all the drugs out there. I can remember being a little kid and my grandparents warning me about drugs. And I always thought drugs were this, oh man, it must be this horrible thing and it must make you feel so horrible. And then when I first did drugs, I was like, oh my God, this feels awesome. There's no way this is a bad thing. And I got sucked right into it, just like everybody else does. It makes my pain go away.
Right.
Like, and I remember when I got drunk for the first time, I'm like, this is the first time in my life I've been pain-free. This can't be a bad thing. And I think that's how it starts out.
Yeah, well, and the irony of that whole thing that you just brought up is, and I don't know how to even put this because it could be one of those things to where it's like, well, how is that so? It's those moments that actually we find who we really are, like our true expression of ourselves. It's like we're wearing actually the biggest mask coming into this matrix. So it's almost like the frequency, the programming itself, as the second you come in as a baby into this world, it's just the devil sitting at you. You have to like go through these experiences to find who you are. And what's weird is like drugs for me was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be shy anymore. Like, holy shit, I can be able to like talk about and express myself and do music and do all these things that I didn't know. But at the same time, it came with this like huge cliff that I had to face in order to then carry over the good things of who I was and get out of that and change my frequency. So like, and that's what's, I think, the hardest part. Whether it was the last 3 years, half years, or every single year that any human has lived on this existence, there's this fucking massive cliff of that programmed matrix that, you know, those doors that we go down in the fucking program, especially the darkest doors sometimes, happen to fucking show you who you are to be able to fucking make that cliff jump out. A lot of people don't make that jump out, though. A lot of people stay in there and think that's the normal place to be. And you know what? We went kind of on that hard side. The craziest to me, the devil card, is the stuff that when we say it looks good and it's so fucking bad, but people have no idea. It's just like, well, I got to do this because whether this says to do this or that, or the government or the church tells me to do this or whatever. And like living in the most false life ever is the highest part of the devil. The devil does not want you to ever reach a high frequency. It wants you to stay blacked in that black tone, which actually in old alchemy and using John Dee's work, black represents earth. So really, if you think about it, it's the people obsessed with earth that are the devil. I know that might sound crazy, but that's like, because when we hear nature, that is a new term in the sense of when you think of a tree. Nature is divine nature. People don't see divine nature. They just see nature and then they think that's Gaia, or they call it Earth, or they call it whatever. It's like, that's the blackness. To get to the higher white and the more beautiful light is the spiritual energies, right? So it's like, it is not a physical form, the higher spiritual vibe. It's that physical form that's fucking where the fucking devil lives in. You know?
Yeah. In today's day and age, you have to be so tuned in because nothing is what it seems. One of the things that I've learned, like especially listening, if you get sucked down the rabbit hole of, say, the truth community, you know, where everybody is constantly looking for the person who has the answer and whatnot. One of the things that I've realized, that I've concluded, is that, you know who I listen to? I listen to the person who's probably telling me something I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Because usually you get sucked into what sounds real good. Oh, that sounds good. And it usually ends up being false.
Right.
The people who I've learned to tune into are usually the people who are telling me something kind of painful. Because if you think about it, like let's say there's a point that I'm trying to get you to understand. Why would I tell you something that you would very likely want to reject if I'm trying to convince you of something? Why would I do that?
Right.
Like, I know this is going to be something that you're probably not going to want to listen to. So why would I tell you this? Because it's true. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
So,
because,
yeah, no, I was just going to say that's one of the things that I've learned to pick up on over the last 3 years or so, is that I listen to all these people, and usually the people who dress it up and make it sound real fluffy and sound nice, that usually ends up being people trying to deceive you. And I'll typically lean towards somebody who's telling me something that kind of hurts. And it's like, yeah, it kind of hurts, but you're probably the person I need to listen to, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and this is like the weirdest correlation of all time, but it's actually in the Bible. The idea of original sin is that Adam and Eve are in a garden that is in a world that is built upon sin 100%, right? So it's like kind of similar to where spirituality is, right? Of like, whether we call that the Matrix, the new way to put it, it's like the same idea, right? That we're born into a world of this like false frequency. But of course, the original way would be like, no, Adam and Eve fell in the garden of sin, right? And she ate the apple. And of course, they put all the blame on the feminine, right? Like the feminine is the one that caused the problem, right? So it's kind of like, you know, what a really good way for some dudes to circle jerk each other in a fucking devil way and create a book and a story that it all is because of Eve's failure.
Yeah.
That caused the problem. She ate the fucking apple. She ate the fucking fruit.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, oh wow. So already that's already so when you talk about who's going to speak about things that you probably don't want to hear about, I think that's what's so interesting is people just go, I want to hear exactly what I want to hear. It's the same thing as I want to fuck whoever I want to fuck right now, no matter what it is. There's no difference to me. I'm like, you just want to hear that to make you feel better. Like this spiritual community, all religions are the same way, where there's this people that are just going to put up and say whatever you want to make you feel better into it. And what it is the devil is so weird. Let me soothe you in your sin of like, oh, I feel better. This minister just told me, it's giving me an excuse to be like, it's okay to do this. It's okay to keep doing this. It's okay to keep yelling at my friends and my family or whatever and treating people like shit. And I'm allowed to fucking do this. I'm allowed to do that. You know, I'm still going to heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like, because the minister told me that we're okay to sin. Where I think it's kind of an interesting paradox of where it's like the spiritual community is like trying to get you to a place fully of like not living a frequency in that dark frequency. Whereas like in the opposite, it's like, and I get it, we all have our failures and we all have our things, but it's like, up until the moment, the best description of it is Constantine, that like hours before he died, finally got baptized to feel better. Like, oh, I don't want to go to hell. Baptize me now. All the shit I did and all the fucking things I killed and everything. And I created the Bible. I got everybody together. Okay, now baptize me right before I die. And that's where people live in that false sense of like, I'll wait till the last fucking second and live in this frequency, shitty reality where I am just living in my pain, pleasure response 24/7. And throw some fucking water on me. And in this day and age, you're getting thrown water from the tap that's got some fucking crazy ass shit in it already, and having somebody say that they blessed it, and it's all like it's like going and watching the old fucking, I forgot what that soap was, Irish Spring commercial or something. Like, I'm relieved of everything in my life, no matter how fucking fucked up I am as a person. It's fucking crazy. To me, that's just like, I watch this world and I go, holy fuck. Original sin, Adam and Eve. And they put that as fucking douche fucking spray too. Eve.
Well, what an easier way to keep people locked in that energy is to lead people as far away from what energy and intention really is, because that's what me, and with the position that I'm in the spiritual community, that's all I'm really trying to get you to understand is that when it all comes down to it, it's your intention. Your intention supersedes all. That will tell you what your frequency is. And, you know, why would anybody pay attention to their frequency or their intentions when they feel like, well, I can just go out and do whatever the hell I want, and all I got to do is get some water splashed on my face and it's all good. You know? Like,
I have to throw the joke in, but it's the devil when some chick throws some Summer's Eve fucking spray down there to make sure it smells good when it really doesn't. That's a basic way of understanding this science, spiritual manifestation. Like, dudes do it too. Let me just throw some Axe on it real quick.
Yeah.
It's not taking away what really the deed that was done prior, or the not taking care of it, or trying to make something look better than it really is. Like, oh no, this kitty's perfect and ready for you. No, it ain't.
Well, I mean that's just like every
Fuck it.
like everything else that you see everybody out there doing. Like, I've never understood, like, well, back in the day, it was like makeup, and I always ask myself, okay, so you're painting your face up like this to go out and meet somebody, but your goal is to meet a life partner, right? So you're going to paint your face up, you're going to meet your life partner, then you're going to come home, then you're going to wash that shit off. And don't you think that person's going to feel kind of lied to? And now we got filters. We got all these filters. You take a picture of yourself, have a filter that completely changes your face. Like, especially if you're on a dating app, what is your thought process? Your thought process is, I'm going to take this picture of myself, I'm going to dress it up, make me look like somebody that I'm not, so that I can attract somebody into my life. And then what's your thought process after you attract them? They're going to see you and be like, oh, yeah, that's not you. Like, I don't understand where people's thought process. I think that's like the full manifestation of this energy anyways. There is no logical thought. You know?
You're right. That's a good point, because I know that, you know, even in the spiritual community, they say, like, don't use the mind, you know, but there's a spiritual mind. There's a spiritual mind that's aware. And that awareness is that to be able to spiritually understand, like, well, if I'm putting myself out there, using your example of especially filters today, which is a mask.
Yeah.
The devil's always a mask, right? So it's like, especially like, even if it's not for love, it might be for attention. Or it might be to look a certain way, the way that you want to look. It's like, that's already it right there. You're already shifting the frequency of what you're not, which is a false frequency. Everybody's so afraid of AI, yet they're being AI themselves all the time. They're creating an artificial intelligence that they think that they're smart enough to fucking fool people into thinking that they look a certain way, when really it's like, no, that's not how you look.
And what's the end goal, though?
The end goal is pleasure, satisfaction, ego. Really, it's the ego run amok. But it doesn't look like the way that ego is traditionally sold to as, like, you look because you got a car and because you say your name a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
The ego runs amok when it's sitting there, or when people can't even show who they are and they fucking do weird shit, you know? Like, they try and, it's always the darkest people that you never see, right? It's always like, There was like the guy who just killed those fucking women years ago. He's in New York. That fucking architect who killed all those prostitutes. Right? It's like never showed his face anywhere. Always kept himself fucking hidden. But of course, to those prostitutes, he probably was using. He had a burner phone. He was using all these weird, like, who knows how he presented himself, and then killed them all. But it's one of those things too. It's like the frequency you play in, the frequency you get, right? So it's like, it's one of those hard things because I respect anybody and where they want to go and what they want to do in life. But the energy you're around is what you're going to manifest within, right? So the devil card can look like it's a great place. Like, let's say I've had roommates that were drug dealers back in the day. Boy, did I think I was going to be okay. But little did I know, like, man, most of the time in those apartments was, are we getting raided right now? Who's this motherfucker coming in here? What's this fucking energy that came in here? I'm up now every night until fucking 8 a.m. Like what the fuck's that? You know, like people get caught up really easy without realizing. It starts so simply, but I think we're in a weirder world than we've ever been in before with the idea that you just brought up. The filtration, even AI now. All these kind of things are really, even the idea of AI as if it's a human, like artificial intelligence is like an artificial human intelligence. Do you think that that's actually a human? No, it's not a human. It's another entity. And I think the devil is the idea that there's another entity that's not from the divine, whatever that might be, and that we can fall into it. To me, the devil is the ultimate trickster. So it's going to trick you into thinking something is when it isn't. And again, most people look at this card as this person's the devil. You have to look at yourself first and what you're doing. It doesn't matter who anybody is. It's whether or not you in yourself become it. So then people like to blame people like they're the devil, they're dark, they're this, they're that, this person's that. I know for sure this person's a devil or demonic. No, you don't. The only thing you can do is be not it yourself.
And even if you attract somebody like that into your life, that's the biggest thing that I'm constantly trying to get people to understand. If I attract a person into my life and they end up like fucking me over and being this horrible person, my first thought is, how did I attract that person? That the first thing that tells me is there's something about my frequency that attracted that in. Like this right here, this way of thinking is what I'm dedicating my life to making sure that one of these days, this way of thinking is going to be so ubiquitous that we don't even need to discuss it. Like, your frequency is what attracts people into your life. So let's say you do attract a person into your life that's the devil. What good is it going to do you sitting around bitching and complaining about that person being the devil? It's not going to do you any good. How did my frequency attract that person in? And if you ask yourself that question and you meditate on it, you'll get an answer. But it'll most likely be an answer you don't want to hear.
Yeah. We'll use Fauci, for example, right? It's like a lot of people think, of course, that guy's dark. Well, of course. I mean, like, but you don't see me sitting around all day fucking obsessed with calling Fauci out, right? I just didn't fall for Fauci. And I couldn't imagine for all the people who fell and actually believed that guy, but I also at the same time feel bad for people, right? There's a part of the devil card where you don't want to be somebody who's just constantly 24/7, like, look at all these people who are fucking stupid, right? Like, you don't want to be in that frequency if we're trying to lift this whole thing. And we all have our moments with that. That's what we're really seeing in the divisive energy right now is it's playing. You can't, right now, whoever you are, including me, we all still play this frequency out. Even though we think we're doing good, man, there's many times that I still be like, look at all these fucking stupid people, right? Yeah. And there I go right away, boom, into that energy. It's that easy to get stuck into that. So it's a very difficult thing because we want to eradicate this energy at the same time. But then there's the other part of this card where it's like, maybe when this card shows up, it's like, dude, you have cobwebs down there. You haven't had pleasure in your whole life. You know, there's a card though too that represents where you have to actually activate your passions in life too. That, you know, that like you and I said, I don't trust anybody that hasn't been down some passion roads in their life and followed their understanding. Well, at the same time, it's that other side that they saw that and where that leads and knows how to have some sort of control and boundary and understand the look of it. That's why I think that most people that didn't fall for somebody like Fauci were original OG gangsters, motherfuckers for real, that had gone through some shit in their life and were like easy to see. Like, I'm gonna trust this 79-year-old, now 80-year-old man who's fucking lying out of his fucking teeth and changing the story and saying you're not gonna have to wear masks. No, you're gonna have to wear masks. He lied to you already right away there, and then he's telling you that it's a fucking experiment that's never been tried before. That has no. Oh yeah, people. I mean, like it's already been the lie right in front of your face. Mm-hmm. It's already it's very simple to see, you know.
Yeah, and another group of people who didn't fall for it are the people who have actually been walking a manifestation path. This is the point I'm constantly trying to drive home, because let's say back in 2015, you decided, you know what, I'm going to start manifesting my best life. Well, once you start manifesting, the first thing you start thinking about is, okay, my frequency is what creates my reality. Okay, all right, so I got to get my frequency in check. So the first thing that happens when you start getting your frequency in check is you start realizing, oh man, I don't want to watch that show. That show is lowering my vibe. I'm gonna turn that TV show off. Oh no, I don't want to listen to the news, man. Every time I listen to the news, it puts me in this fucked up vibe. I can't be in this fucked up vibe, or I'm gonna manifest some fucked up shit. So I turn the news off, and you start getting real sensitive to the shit that you allow into your head. I'm not listening to that kind of music. That kind of music puts me in this low vibe. So if you started that path in 2015, by the time 2020 rolled around, by default. Oh, you're trying to scare me? Psh, I ain't doing that. I'm not falling into this vibration of fear. I'm not doing that. Like you would have had this default setting in your brain that automatically detects bullshit. Oh, you're trying to manipulate me. I'm not falling for that. You see what I'm saying? This is the reason why learning manifestation is so important, because when you start manifesting and you become aware of your energy, you can't be manipulated. Nobody can put you in fear.
No, because, you know, that's where the chains in this card come up so much, right? Because that fear is connected to control, right? Like, I want to have the whole country not go out, not do anything. I want the whole world to take and do something. That's control. So that fear comes off control-based aspect. So it's like, to me, it's like automatic when, you know, freedom is the most godly, highest frequency. Freedom. So anything that's not allowing you your freedom in life is the most fucking toxic shit to ever be around in life. Somebody where you can't talk about, like, hey, I need to be doing this. Is that cool? Yeah, that's fucking cool. Do it. Okay, then you're dealing with somebody who's fucking being real. There's no mask. The worst, though, is when somebody's like, oh, yeah, no, you'll be able to do what you want to do. No, you get in the room and boom, they lock the doors, you know? And that's exactly what happened. But it happens in our daily lives with people, friendships, relationships, that become that trap. Like they want to put out that they're doing something good. Oh, I'm helping you, but it comes with a cost. Mm-hmm. Or it comes with, no, I'm going to chain you to this fucking way to be. So when, to me, it's like the most evil shit in the world is then watching how everybody in this fucking place, about 80% of the world, was just turning into like, how dare those people are walking out their house right now? That was the most evil shit that ever happened in fucking recorded history. I know that people will be like, no, the Bible had way more evil shit. It was like, no, we had just, out of 8 billion people, we had 72% of those people fall for the biggest lie of all time and look around at people as if they were bad people, or say, I can't come to your house because I don't want to get sick, or it's not right. I can't believe you went and had people over. I can't believe that you fucking went outside and were throwing a football around. I can't believe that you went to the beach. I can't believe that you want to go on a date. I can't believe that you want to go do any of this stuff. Man, that exposed how dark the world really is, you know?
Yeah, because, I mean, I know I've said this before like a million times, but I don't know any way to word it to like make it more clear how intelligent, educated people threw their common sense out the window. When I say common sense, I'm talking like a 10, 12-year-old kid could dream up that, you know, if we're all standing in this little enclosed gas station and there's this airborne virus, I don't think putting a bandana around my nose is going to do very much good. I don't think you standing 6 feet away from me is really going to fucking matter. This thing's airborne, right? This thing's airborne, and it's the deadliest fucking virus known to man. But don't you worry. You just stand over there, put a bandana around your face, stand behind a piece of plexiglass, and like common sense. And some of the most intelligent people that I thought was intelligent, now that got me thinking, well, what the fuck is intelligent then? It took my mind and just twisted it around and flipped my whole world upside down. And what you said a minute ago about how easy it is to get sucked into getting pissed off about it, that was another big awakening that I went through. Because and then I'm having this battle with myself like, okay, well, now I'm in a low frequency because I'm so angry at all these idiots. So...
But there's a difference, though. There's the justice card of anger that is when real true justice has been taken away, the divine good.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's anger as much as it is things need to be made in the position of to where people can be free, and those lines have to. That's God's true intention. That's the highest frequency's true intention always. So there's justification to be upset when you watch a complete catastrophic failure of humanity or a complete catastrophic failure of human souls tying themselves to this dark fucking force in life. I think that happens a lot. And I think the worst is, you think of World War II, for example, and you think of what happened in Nazi Germany, right? It's like everybody starts being like, yeah, look at the Jews, look at the Gentiles, look at the astrologers. Let's throw all these people into the ghettos and then take all their homes and all their shit. And then let's make them the essential workers that make all the shit as slave labor. Then let's throw them in a concentration camp. And then most of them, we're going to use the best ones we've got that can still work to stay alive and throw most of them into the fucking fryer and have everybody just sitting around and being like, that's the right thing to do. Essential worker, that was exactly what was said in Nazi Germany, right? So all these things were triggering me right away like, tuberculosis shot. That's exactly what Hitler forced on the whole population the second he became into power. Right? And the ironic part is the biggest lie of all time is you see Joe Biden, you see Kamala Harris, you see Nancy Pelosi, you see all these fucking Democrats saying, I would never take that fucking shot. Trump made that shot. And then out of nowhere, switch their mask on and go, you have to take this thing. It's the most amazing thing. Oh, and you won't get sick. You won't spread it to people. The flip to watch that was like God, the best part about the devil card is God's always showing you the signs of how not to get to that dark frequency. The light frequency is always around being like, so, a lot of people out there, the most unhappy people right now are the people who fell for it and are attacking people that held the line. Have you noticed that? Like, that's the craziest thing is the people are doubling down because they look so dumb, and that's what the devil card could be. We can feel stupid, like, damn, I can't believe I fell for this dark shit. And what do? You double down on it. I'm going to double down. I'm going to stay in the toxic loop 10 times harder and start saying that they're misinformation. They're fucking all this shit. And it's fucking insane when all you have to do is just show the clips of that, or just show the clips of this, or show the clips of that, and just show the fucking... That is just... When you talk about a toxic loop, like, no, we're not going to take it. That's bad. Oh, no. It's really good. Wait, what? What? That's fucking the trippiest shit I think ever that will be ever in recorded history is people fucking not seeing that or the deception of like, to me, all the shit that's happened election-wise to everything, it's just like, you can feel there's been a mask and a lie. Or even the man that runs the fucking idea, or if even as a man, as a country, is wearing a mask. Literally, you see the mask. The man behind the mask, or whatever the thing is behind the mask. Yeah. It's fucking creepy, but you can't be creeped out. You have to be aware.
Yeah. Well, I get it. Back to what you were saying a minute ago about how you know, it's justified anger, and what I'm talking about, I'm not really talking about a moral perspective, like that the anger is or isn't justified, but it's still a low vibration.
I agree.
So where I was at with it was, now this is really testing my spirituality, because morally, yes, that anger is justified, you know. But at the end of the day, the universe isn't looking at me saying, oh, okay, well, I'm going to break my own laws because this energy is justified. It's not working that way. If I'm casting that vibration, whether it's justified or not, I'm still going to attract people, situations, and scenarios that harmoniously resonate with the frequency that I'm casting. So how do I transcend this? This is one of the biggest awakenings that I've gone through in the last 3 years, was how to actually put myself in the minds of those people and like really imagine how lost you must be. Like, you are so lost. I feel sorry for you. I did not believe that it was possible for a human to be that brainwashed. Like, I didn't. Yeah, you see, people fall for stupid shit. I've fallen for stupid shit. But to be that brainwashed, like, I put myself in a place where it was like, God damn, I just want to send love and light to you. Does that make sense?
Well, because if we bring up the pleasure, people were getting pleasure off of it. It gave them the feeling of pleasure of, one, satisfying some government, which is even the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, right? Like, I want to please the government by exactly what it's telling me to do.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Right? And then on top of it, the pleasure of screaming at my fellow brother, sister, or neighbor, or whatever, who's not doing it, and judge and cast judgment in a negative way if they're not following the program. I can't believe this shit. Or the worst is the ones that are just like, I'm going to take my child and I'm going to also have them join the devil's fucking party with this shit. That shit to me. So like, that's where it's like, I mean, I feel bad, but at the same time, I'm like, the signs are everywhere. Now I know that's weird because the mask thing, like, you know, smoking meth is pretty fucking crazy, which I used to do, right? Like, the devil has kind of a craziness of like, am I really taking a glass pipe and throwing in some fucking crystal of some shit that I have no idea where that shit was made in a bathtub somewhere in Fresno, and smoking that shit and I'm getting high off it? Okay, that's pretty fucking crazy. So I get it because I've been there, right? But at the same time, I didn't get pleasure off people feeling sorry for me. So then we're dealing now with people that are getting pleasure, like, feel sorry for me, I fell for it. The opposite when I got off drugs was like, I don't want you to feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
I'm finding this shit, figuring this shit out myself to do it for myself, to be a higher frequency person by myself. So now we're dealing with a bunch of people now who are like getting the pleasure again of like, feel bad for me. Like, I can't believe it. And that's what's going to come in the biggest wave we've ever seen. Feel bad for me. Reparations. I can't believe it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, they made it to where you had to sign a piece of paper to take that stupid shit anyway. That's the devil, right? Like, sign the dotted line where we have no responsibility for whatever the fuck happens to you. So that's where I don't get, that's where I feel like I'm more justice card. Like, I'm like, well, you fell for it and you signed for it knowingly, consentingly. Did you read the fucking piece of paper?
You talking about the shot?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read the piece of paper? Because you signed that shit, and then you signed your kid up for that shit.
Yeah.
Or there were so many stories of like, whether it was the husband or the wife or the father or the mother or the child, one of them's like, no, I don't want to do this. And the other one, while they were out getting ice cream or something crazy, fucking went and took them to a CVS.
Man.
That to me is the fucking...
Yeah. I can remember.
You will have a nice fucking long fucking toxic fucking infinity fucking of not going to new timelines.
Yeah. Man, I can remember like coaching my kids, like taking them to school. And I coached them. I was like, I don't care what they say. If they try to give you a shot, tell them I'm calling my dad first. I don't care if they said, oh, your dad told us it was okay. I don't care. If they try to give you a shot, you run immediately and say, I'm calling my dad. If they try to hold you down and force it, bite them, kick, scream, I don't care. You know, I can remember coaching my kids.
Right.
I was scared, dude. I was fucking scared because you heard all these stories of them doing it in elementary schools behind the kids, behind the parents' backs.
I know, that's some dark shit.
I was fucking scared, dude. So I coach my kids every single day. You do not let them stick no fucking needle in your arm. I don't care if you got to bite them, kick, scratch, scream. I don't give a fuck. Like,
right.
I was scared. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm about to imagine that soon.
Yeah.
Going through what I'm going to go through in the next week or two here, right? Like already dealing with a system, but it's ironic that even the hospitals now don't even bring any of that shit up. They didn't the whole pregnancy because they've known of how many.
Really?
Yeah, they have not brought it up once. They don't even. Everything they've said is like, well, do you want? They haven't even asked. It's don't ask, don't tell now. That's the irony part, right? It's like they know they did so bad, and they also know, like, well, we'll go out of business if we don't have customers. Hospitals are customers. They got all their money, $26K for every fucking vent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now it's come out that 95% of people who were on the vent died.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, so you got a lot of money from that. Now you got to keep customers, especially pregnancies. That's rare now. Rare. It's the lowest it's ever been. Deaths are the highest and excess deaths. So it's like, that's the dark shit. People aren't really realizing, you know, the devil, that sometimes doesn't pop its head out. And the repercussions, there's a karmic element to this shit too, right? The loop's going to come back. You do a dark deed. And we've all had to deal with our karma in our lives. You know, you lie to somebody, guess what? Somebody's going to lie to you back. You know, you do some shady shit, it's going to come back to you in life, and we've all had to deal with that. But wait, right now we're on a level I've never even contemplated. And so, you know, it's like, oh, it'll just go away. Like people think, oh, COVID's gone, the world's going to go back to normal. No, there was so much dark shit done. That karmic loop's coming back to all the people that did all that shit. And that's going to cause the world to go fucking crazy when over 72% of the world fell for it. That's the actual number, 72%. So I think it's weird that there's this small population on the planet that fucking were awake. Small part of the population that didn't, you know, we're dealing in a different world now where, you know, they've talked about it, whether you want to use the Bible or anything, where they literally said, don't take the mark, right? To me, that's like, don't take the mark of the frequency. Don't inject anything into you that could be the mark.
Yeah.
And I hate to get that gnarly, but you know, like people have been so afraid of having a bar scanner on them. Well, they made the bar scanner fucking a different way.
Yeah. Do you remember that series Left Behind?
Yeah.
You remember that?
The movie series? Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma was so obsessed with that. And she spent the last couple of years of her life preparing me for the end times. She would tell me, like, throughout my whole childhood, I'm not going to be around for it, but you're going to be around for this. So she would make me sit down and watch those movies, and she was constantly reading about the end times.
Right.
And I think that planted a seed in my mind that, to me, that's what was happening.
Right.
Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. Oh my God, man, this is the fucking mark, dude.
100%. That's what I felt.
I mean, there's all these different speculations because, you know, I've seen where there's, like, I saw this video of this dude who got a microchip implanted into his hand.
Yeah.
And he scanned it on a Coke machine and bought a Coke with it. And I think it was in Australia or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but.
Oh, I was in Europe. I think it was in Switzerland or Sweden, one of those two.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm still hearing little rumors every now and then that they're going to try to, like, roll that out.
Right, and everything is going to be consent-based. Somebody in here was like, I think they're putting it in the water, that shit, and they're putting it everywhere. I'm like, no. You have to realize the dark, and it works this way in every way, is got consent.
There's universal law.
There's universal law that always will be, you know, like the idea like, oh God. And that's where I know some people might not agree with me and all that shit, but it's like, I tell myself this whole time since I've seen the crazy shit in the skies from chemtrails to whatever, I'm like, I don't consent to that shit.
Yeah.
So people go, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't use that as an excuse of why I'm like having a bad day.
Yeah.
Or I think that my body's not healthy because of that. It's like, I'm not consenting to that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like the idea that people think like the dark's just going to start pouring shit out. No. The dark is always going to have a request that you have to sign to energetically. Mm-hmm. You have to sign up for that shit.
Yeah.
That's the only way they get their power. They don't get their power from the universe doesn't work that way, right? Like you just can't go do demonic shit and fucking just throw that on the whole universe and just like have people like be forced to take that. There's always consent. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like sometimes though, the scary part of that consent is like, oh, I'm a citizen of this country. So if like your country goes to crazy war like Japan and gets fucking atom bombed, you know, because I know that people will use that one like, well, you can't say that those people, it's like, no, well, you know, you're in that country and you've consented to the emperor that's basically the one that's saying, I'm going to go do all this shit, right?
Yeah.
Like if it got crazy World War III here, like it already is World War III, but it gets to where it starts hitting here, I'm not consenting to that shit.
Yeah.
And wherever the universe is going to show me the opposite, we're the same thing with the light. You have to consent to being with God in the light. You can't be just sitting in the middle. It's like, I don't want to be in a high frequency and I don't want to be in a low frequency. That's like, you're not in a frequency at all. You're not existing. So, you know, that's to me the crazy part is the dark always has that consent form. Like, yeah, you paid for the money to go into that situation, buy that drug.
Yeah.
Or walk into that room. Like you chose to walk into that room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, the water that I'm, you know, and even with that, I mean, there's like things where you choose the water, but like, you know, like I feel like though that it's not so blanket. Like, oh, they're doing it already. They're putting in food. No, that's why, trust me, even though they're saying about lab meat or they're saying about all this crazy shit now, trust me, there's going to be something that says, this is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dark can't operate any other way.
Yeah, I mean, remember what we were talking about? Was that last week? I think with the Simpsons. That the Simpsons, was that you that was saying that? I thought it was you that was saying the Simpsons aren't predicting things; they're telling you what's coming.
Correct.
Like that the dark forces operate under universal law.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, go to the store and pick a piece of food off of, you know, a food product off the shelf and all the horrible shit that's in there.
I know.
Like they have to put it in your face. They have to. And even if they were putting it in the water, there has to be something around here that tells you that it's in the water.
Yeah.
You have to consent to it. And that's another thing that I learned in Mind Mastery School is you simply reject whatever you don't want. Like aging. Or getting sick. Yeah, I do not accept that I can get sick.
Right.
Therefore, I don't. I do not accept that I can age. Therefore, I don't. It's fucked up.
Right.
You have to consent to everything.
Well, and that's what's so funny, too, is like the devil card wants you to consent to like, I'm old. And there's like all these like stigmas of like, well, I've reached this. Or when you're 40, you're over the hill. Mm-hmm. Or whatever you want to call it. You know, these are like the little tricks that have been around. And then people think, oh, that's like occult shit. It's like, yeah, hidden shit that you don't know.
Yeah.
There's hidden shit that you don't know that's positive. So you know how to deal with it. So people take that occult thing all wrong. Like, oh, that's hidden shit. That's dark. No, you're in the dark. The light is always the information. Having the information is the light. Period. So like anything in life is about having the information. That's why it's like, okay, does this make any sense? This is the information they're giving? No, that's pretty dark. I know there's some weird shit behind that shit. And it's not looking like it's the information that even is close because the information that you're putting to me is fucking not good enough. Like, it's horrible. Like, a good example going back to relationships is like, well, yeah, I'm really wanting to be in a serious relationship. But once you hear that but, run. Run. But I have to wait till I get through my school. I have to wait till I get through this, right? It's like, okay, you're dealing with somebody who is nowhere even near the frequency of whatever, and you're consenting to be like, I hope that they will change. They're not going to change till they literally are on that frequency, and they're not going to be on that frequency. Eventually, maybe, but it's probably not going to be for you.
Yeah.
That's what sucks. That's where people get the most trapped, I think, in like personal realms. I hope my situation will change by staying in the same frequency is not going to do anything. It's like, I want the songs to change, but I'm on the fucking oldies. It's like, until you change the station. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, the oldies until 30 years go by might be finally what's the new shit now. But that still is not going to play what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the situation doesn't change. You have to change.
Yeah.
And I think people get kind of overwhelmed when they hear that. Like it, and we're not talking rocket science here. A perfect example, you starting a new schedule. Perfect example.
Right.
Perfect example. So now you're going to start getting up at a different time every day, and it'll probably be pretty uncomfortable for the first few months, maybe. But after a while, if you consistently do it every single day, your brain starts rewriting itself. And then that changes your frequency. And then the frequency has to change first, and then what's outside starts changing. It's little bitty things like that. When everybody thinks, oh, I just want everything out here to change. I want my situation to change. I want the people around me to change. I want my money to change. And it's like the people around you, your situation, your money, all these things are reflections of your vibration.
100%.
So how do we get people to understand what vibration is? I'm looking for that one magic word. That's the fire that burns inside of me.
I mean, I would call it like a spiritual boot camp, because being in boot camp when I was in the military, you want to talk about like having to adjust to a schedule that's controlled by a fucking military. Fucking within a day, you don't have a week to get used to it. Like you have to get used to it right away, or you're fucking gonna have a hell of a life. Mm-hmm. There's that for me is why it's like, oh, I'm changing the schedule. It's pretty natural for me to go back into my boot camp mode of like, this is happening. I'm doing this, making it happen. And that's where I think that's what's weird is so many people, the devil is, it has to feel good in order for me to do it.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of stuff that's really positive to know you're on the right path and so forth. But that's usually after the point of like the hard change that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to quit the pleasure that's causing you pain. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel good. And that's where the trap is staying in that toxic loop of, I'm in the pain place. I'm in a place of hell. I'm in the toxic relationship. But to change to go to a better place, it's going to be hurtful. I'm going to be heartbroken. Or, God, I'm not going to feel good because I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm not going to have that anymore in my life. Whatever it might be that's toxic. It's like, well, you got to start somewhere. And it's not going to feel easy to up-level your frequency. It's never going to feel it. So it's like, and I know that there's probably religious people who would agree with that too, if they actually would look at it that way without being triggered, being like, yeah, if you're religious, like to go to church every Sunday, it's not going to feel good right away because you're probably fucking like, well, every Sunday I go fucking have brunch with my fucking girlfriends and drink fucking as much as I can and eat breakfast and we do brunch and then we go hoe ourselves around and try and get fucked by every dude at the fucking DJ fucking club that's at the after party at fucking noon. Wearing my little dress saying I'm Christian with my Christian little fucking thing. But no, I'm down for Jesus, you know what I mean? Fucking, well, I'm taking it up the butt fucking in the back of the fucking DJ booth.
Yeah, it's pain first, pleasure later. Pleasure first, pain later. It's actually really simple. Like this morning, I had a hard time getting up. I took probably one too many sleepy gummies last night or some shit. I don't know. I just had a hard fucking time getting up. And today's chest day. I got that fucking bench in my garage now, and I went and I sat on that bench. I pulled my phone out. I'm like, I don't want to lift. I don't want to fucking lift this shit. Let me just play scroll through Facebook 5 more minutes. Finally, I was like, man, fuck it. Got to lay back and lifting that shit fucking hurts. But then after you're done, it's like, yeah, I'm pumped now.
Right.
And that's life.
We were pumped about doing this card today.
Yeah.
Because I came in, to me, my chest day was, I'm changing my whole schedule. The Leo King's on before fucking noon. But, getting up for me and doing it, I sat and I got up and I started looking at news stories. And then I'm into crypto, of course. I'm like, oh shit, this is a big drop. Fucking, and last night I was on top of that shit. Made a huge trade last night, fucking, it's already working for me right now as I'm looking at it, right? Like I fucking, okay. But then I'm like, no, I gotta go do this shit. And then I thought of all the positive things, like we got a doctor's appointment in the next, like I'm leaving here in 30 minutes. We got like 30 minutes left of the show. I'm like, I got all these things to do. I got this. We're changing this. We're changing high vibes. We're doing this. And those positive incentives are not this shit. And they do come with that kind of, it's not going to be easy, but gosh, you get over that and it feels good. And that's where the eternal bliss is in life, and where there's a positivity and there's not this need for obsessive aspect. There's an obsession. Like I wanted to bring up obsession with this card.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Like this card, like the creep balls out there that are obsessed on certain people or such. You're supposed to fucking, I don't know if I wouldn't even say supposed to, right? Natural energy is not just attached to this idea of like, if you're in a place where you're just obsessed with like, let me see what this person's doing every second because you want to, and you're not saying anything or you're not inspired or you're just trying to figure someone out, that's dark shit.
Especially if it's somebody you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Why even do that? That's creepy. It's creepy. I don't know, but people do that shit because I don't know. They don't realize, you know, they're that close to turning the dial to serial killer, or they're that close to realizing I've lost it. Like I've lost my soul because I'm expecting to get something from something I hate so much.
Yeah.
Pleasure out of it. Like what? Like that is just, that's opposite of everything in the universe. So really, the devil card to me is just everything that's opposite of the divine, natural, spiritual ways.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because it's like the magician card, same pose, but chaining people together. And also it's not holding up the wand, it's holding the wand of fire down, the magic wand down.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, if you look at it, correct me if I'm wrong, but like those chains are pretty loose. Like they could get out of that if they wanted to, right?
I mean, they can move around for him to play with them however he wants.
I thought I heard somebody...
So that's the weird thing. You would want kind of loose chains to make people feel like they're free when they're not.
Yeah, well, I thought I heard somebody say one time that, like, I could be wrong on this, but I thought somebody said one time that because these chains are so loose, they could slip right out of it if they wanted to, right, but they choose not to. Because like they're addicted, like that. What you were just talking about a second ago, like I'm gonna sit and spy on somebody that I hate, you know, like they're addicted to it. Like why the fuck would you pick up your phone and go type in somebody's name that you hate,
crazy,
and then sit there and watch them all fucking day, pissing yourself off on purpose? That's sick. You have a sick fucking brain if that's what you do with your energy, but they don't care. That's all they know. I think people who do those kinds of things probably were just exposed to so much toxicity as a child, they may not know any different. So like whenever you have people like this generational curse that's been going on since like the 40s and 50s, where, you know, you traumatize this generation and they traumatize their kids and they traumatize their kids. And it's like, how do you awaken people up out of that generational curse, you know?
I think it's because they're trying to gain something, right? They're trying to gain, whether it's notoriety, recognition, because they don't know how to find it within themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I want to be seen.
Yeah.
Even though I hate you. It's like, everybody knows, I fucking think Joe Biden isn't even a fucking real human being. I don't give a fuck if you think he is or not, and you can judge me all you want. I don't believe he is. I don't believe he's actually the president of the United States. I have said it since the beginning, okay, of the actual true Constitution. I do not believe it. And that's okay. I'm allowed to have that. But I don't go on his fucking Instagram or follow him or even look at his posts.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting there going, what is Joe Biden doing today? That'd be weird. That'd be the opposite. I'd be like, gosh, it's the same thing with sports. Like, I'm not going to watch any other team but the Angels. I'm an Angels fan. So I'm going to watch the Angel games. I'm not going to go watch the Detroit Tigers, even though they're playing the Tigers. I'm not going to go watch the Detroit Tigers every game. Or I'm not going to go watch the team that's in first place that I am not wanting to win the division title. I'm not going to go watch their games. I'm just going to see at the end, like, what did they win or not? Like, oh, okay. Like, I'm the stats of where my team that I like and where they're going. Ironically enough, I like the only team that's called the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
That actually has a halo. So weird. But it's like, you know, that it blows my mind that people like, what I hate so much, I'm going to fucking put all my attention to. Especially like that's where the ex thing comes in, right? Like some people just can't let go of their ex.
Yeah.
Oh, and I get nothing but the reason why is because I get nothing bad that's showing up. Well, that's because your ex was bad and you're fucking putting so much energy on your ex that fucking you're regurgitating everything that's like your ex in. Oh yeah. Like out of they're a swamp keeper and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go fucking let more swamp creatures come out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay. No problem. But I missed because I like that. I like being behind the DJ booth with my fucking Christian little fucking cross on, getting fucked behind the back and missing church. Okay, well, you're going to get more of that. You might wear different sunglasses now, you know what I mean? Fucking wearing it like, yeah, fucking. It's not the same, though. Yeah, it is.
It could be a power trip too, like people who want to get some kind of reaction out of their ex just to know that they still have power over them.
That's yeah,
and like a lot of people. Oh, and people in the spiritual community, like people who will have a contest to see who can leave the stupidest fucking comment in the comment section because they're trying to get a reaction out of you. They want you to acknowledge their existence because they're so starved for attention. That would make them feel powerful. I got them to acknowledge me, like,
or they'll come up with things that make you think you're acknowledging them when they're not.
Oh yeah,
it's not even about them.
Yeah, yeah, I see that all the time.
We've talked about people who are on social media can't even show their face. Some person thinks that's them. They'll take that as that's me. You're talking only about me.
Yeah,
it's like, sorry to say it, it's like fucking 40% of fucking the internet people don't show their face.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we were talking about 40%, which I don't even know what that number would be, but it's in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Not you individually, sorry. Some people are fucking that lost where everything somebody will say, they think it's about them. Even like, we'll use an example of an ex. They might feel the control thing. They might think like they're posting a song right now and they pay attention to every lyric and go, oh my God, it's about me. The devil is making something about you constantly that's not about you.
Yeah, well, that's how you know the shoe fits. The shoe fits because, like I love the way Steve Harvey puts it. If you throw a rock at a pack of dogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit.
Yep.
So, like if somebody says something generally, for example, I'm a millennial. So if some internet public figure says millennials are stupid, lazy pieces of shit, is that going to offend me? No. Because I'm not a stupid, lazy piece of shit, so I'm not offended by that. The people that's going to offend are the stupid, lazy pieces of shit.
Yep.
Like, whenever people get offended, when you throw something general out like that and somebody thinks it's directed towards them, I don't know if they realize that they're saying, hey, that shoe fits me. Fuck you. Like, dude, you just told on yourself.
Right.
People do that all the time, and I don't think they realize it's like you're telling on yourself there,
I agree. I mean, I'm an astrologer, so it's like one of those things to where it's like if I put out a horoscope for Leo, or it doesn't matter what sign, right? And I'm honest. I'm like, yeah, this is where the issues are right now. This is where the hard thing is of whether it's a Saturn transit of 2-3 years that you're going to be going through this evolution and it's not going to be easy, or where you need to maybe put a stop to it, or maybe you haven't actually done anything here and it's time to make a plan about something. Automatically, it's not about being triggered. It's about being like, oh, okay, this is the info. And if it triggers me, that's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? Like maybe let's say if it was about being lazy or something, right? I'd be like, oh, if I'm recognizing that frequency that's calling me out on being lazy, and there's ways of, we'll take that millennial article, even if it's just a random article in life, right? It'd be like, well, what are the things that the article's saying that's causing it? What are the articles saying that could help? What's the reason for that article? If it's just an article just trashing fucking millennials for being lazy without giving some sort of reason, usually the reason is that most of them are on their fucking parents' still fucking credit cards, or their parents still help them out buy their house, or whatever it might be, right? It's like, okay, that's why there's a problem. So it's like you as an individual have to realize, like, am I going to be part of this problem that's causing, most people my age right now fucking have a harder time because You're all still suckers to your fucking parents with their control. Like, no, not paying for your phone. I saw you. You were on your story on your Instagram. I know you're 35, but I'm still paying for things. It's like, and there's a lot of that still, you know. Like, I can't believe how much of that is still out there. Like, well, we still pay for your cell phone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of like, you know, the old saying, how does it go? Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times.
Yep.
And it's a cycle that goes around and around in a circle. And that's very much part of that cycle, because back in the day it was hard. See, I wasn't raised by the boomers like most millennials. I was raised by the silent generation.
Yeah.
So I got some of that hardcore ass kicking. I didn't, you know, like tough love type shit. And then my grandparents passed away, and I was forced to you know, get out there and do it on my own. But like all these people that you still see who are still on their mommy's titty, you know, that came from several generations ago. There was hard times, and then that created strong men. Right. And then the strong men created good times, which created weak men. And then we have these parents who think, oh, well, I don't want you to have to suffer the way my grandpa did. So here, stay on my titty. And then now we're just breeding a generation of weak ass little pussy boys. And if it keeps going this way, with them bashing masculinity and whatnot and trying to feminize men, then we're just going to go run the cycle all over again.
I agree. I mean, I just watched again Saving Private Ryan last night. I don't know why, but I did. It was my birthday, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to bring a baby girl into this world. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play all my war movies in my fucking surround sound movie theater anymore all the time. So I'm going to put on my Saving Private Ryan here. And there's a scene in that movie where it's like they're going to find Private Ryan because 3 of his brothers died, right? And they're going to pull him out of the war, right? And they get to this fucking place of a radar station, and they're like, yeah, there's a couple Nazis there, but we could just go around. And that's when fucking the captain's like, no, the objective is to win the war. And that's one of those weird moments where they lose a guy and they're all pissed, and then they all start freaking out, and then they all start going crazy, and that's when he reveals, like, hey, I'm a high school teacher. That's what I do, because they all were trying to guess who Tom Hanks was in that movie. And he finally has to like settle everybody down. He's like, I'm a high school teacher. And he's like, I coached the baseball team in the spring, and you know, out here, I don't even know what I am anymore. You know, people can get lost in that place where, you know, you forget like objectives, but at the same time, sometimes the devil card could be an objective that you go for too hard, you know? And then there's that weird line in life where it's like, well, if there's demonic and dark energies out there, like the Nazis in a war, are you going to avoid them and be a little puss? Like you have to kind of like, the objective is to win the war. It's not just the mission of going to save Private Ryan. It's also the mission of fucking winning the war. And how is that going to affect all the planes that are going by with that radar tower that's got fucking a machine gun that can shoot down the fucking plane? We're the guys here, like, you got to do it. That's like where we're in a world right now where it's like, if the dark is in front of you, don't go around it. Always face it and get out of it instead of, let me avoid it. People do that in their life. I'm going to avoid it, and then they wonder why I'm not manifesting the life I want to. It's like, well, the universe is like, I'm going to give you everything that you can't get because you like to fucking take the shortcuts away. So you never face any hurdles. You never face anything in your life to really make you better and stronger and actually know what you're going to get. And that's, to me, the devil too, right? It's like the easy route. Mm-hmm. It's always the easy route. Like, it's quick. You want to feel good right now? Come on in. It reminds me of a circus. You really want to feel good right now? $5. You can see what's behind here. And then you get there, and it's like the world's smallest donkey. What are those carnies doing to that donkey when the show ends?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Quick pleasure that feels really good right away. That pretty much... I mean, if there's
Pleasure Island in Pinocchio, that's what he goes through.
Pleasure Island. Now you want to talk about them telling you what they're doing?
I know.
That was a big one.
The whole time. I mean, that movie's from that story's older than that. It's from the beginning of the 1900s, but that movie in the 30s is literally what they've been doing the whole time. And how they find them in the streets. Oh, you're going to be a star. Right? You're going to be fucking Pinocchio the star and use them. It's like Justin fucking Bieber.
Yeah.
I think of Justin Bieber as Pinocchio. Like trying to be this real boy, like this real superstar boy. And then getting caught up in Pleasure Island, and look at him now.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, or even I look at like Kanye and like their little church they made, and then they got Marilyn Manson up there.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like Justin Bieber and fucking Yee and fucking Marilyn Manson, and they're all in fucking robes and have a bunch of their fucking people up in robes, and they're fucking doing their shit. Hello? Wake up. Like, where's the, like, ding, 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 you know, like, do I have to get all cartoony, like, bam, 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 like, are you fucking stupid at this point? Like, fucking, sorry to say, that is a fucking ritualistic fucking cult right there, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm sorry to say, fucking, when you just, like, look at that situation, how well their lives are going,
Yeah.
some dark-ass shit. Like, so, you know, it's like, but I think of that Pleasure Island, like, you know, it's like, come to this island. You can just have whatever you want. It's great. Drink, smoke, play billiards, do whatever you want. But secretly, there was a whole plan behind that of turning them all into donkeys, right? Fucking, then ushering those donkeys away. Ironically enough, Democrats are donkeys too. And then we're seeing all the same shit in that party with children. Crazy fucking shit behind the scenes with that.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it seems kind of brilliant because back since, the 30s, 40s, and 50s, they've been brainwashing everybody into believing that being famous, to be famous, you know? And then now they've had that running for so long, and now they have a way for anybody to become famous. So now we have all the kids just trying to be famous. They'll just do the stupidest fucking shit that they can think to be famous. They don't care what for. Like if you walk up to your average person and ask them, would you like to be famous? Most people would say yes, but I would think you would want to answer that question by saying, famous for what? Famous for what? They don't care. I just want to be famous. I just want lots of people to know who I am. And they don't really understand. Like I try to tell my kids this all the time that, you know, they're always like, oh my God, I want to get a YouTube channel. I want to get a Facebook. I'm like, for what? Because I want lots of people to like my posts and stuff like that. I'm like, for what? Don't you see? You know what I do for a living? Do you know how many people know who I am? That doesn't change anything. Right. Like
if anything, it comes with a lot more problems.
Yeah, it's very stressful. It's like, if anything, like the only cool thing about the fact that I have an audience that, you know, a large number of people that know who I am is that, you know, I make a living. But most of these kids out here, they're not trying to make a living. They're not trying to make a career. They're not trying to help anybody. They're not trying to do any service to humanity. They just want to be famous.
Well, usually I think sometimes that might be the intention, but then you're getting called to the White House because then now we're at a place of fame is just like, well, if I fucking get famous now because I'm willing to change my gender, which I have no, if that's what people want to do it. I have nothing against the trans community or whatever. But it obviously, there's something really weird with that, right? Like, it's like you're convinced that quick off of TikTok now to change your gender. Okay, like, no judgment. But it's one of those things to where it's like you end up at the White House. So you end up at the King of Pleasure Island, which, you know, that's what's so interesting right now is like the King of Pleasure Island shows what the Pleasure Island's about, where they use you to promote a vax, to promote this, to promote that. It's about promoting an agenda. The dark is always about promoting an agenda. And that agenda right now, unfortunately, has gone, it goes in all different shapes, forms, and you know, it won't be like this forever. That's the weird thing is the devil will find a new thing to be. Soon it'll be, take your arms and reattach them to your fucking where your legs are and put your legs where your arms are. And kids will do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like right now it's about gender. Right now it's about fucking doing all that shit, whatever. If that's your thing, it's your thing. But it's like you have to ask yourself, like, what's the repercussions in the long term? Might feel good right now, but will it 20 years from now? Will it 10 years from now? And that's the hard part too, is when it's at a place to where it's like, I know people are so mad at all these people for what's happening, but it's like, I've always said, like, it's you, the parent, that's allowing them on that phone to get lost into that world, you know, like set their account up to where it's like meant for fucking certain amount of screen time or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, like, or at least like they get to follow accounts that are for people that are under 18, you know, whatever it might be. But like, we're at a place to where like, you can't again throw it on the blame of Pleasure Island. You have to throw the blame on yourself, you know, like, I mean, like, and as a parent or as a person or whatever you do in your life, or even if you're the kid who does it, one day you're going to come to a moment where you're going to realize, I put myself in some fucking chains. Fuck. Or maybe and that's what's weird. The devil card always makes you feel like you just got released from your chains. I remember when I did drugs, I am released from my chains of feeling like this fucking insecure and very fucking shy person. And I was popular and everybody, I was the guy fucking with my tongue out and fucking an acid tab and fucking, There was a lot of chains on that had to get worked through. And I don't blame anybody for those chains. I don't blame my friends. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame any situation. That was all me. My consent to that. You know?
Yeah, but with being a parent, though, that is difficult in today's day and age with like my daughter is always on that phone. And we have it set up to where it's a certain amount of time and then it cuts off. But then, like, I'm finding myself trying to figure out, like, I don't want to be too controlling and take everything away because, like we talked about last time, you know, you have to experience. You have to experience. So how much do I let you experience? How much of this internet do I let you get sucked into? And then at the same time, teach you how to think for yourself. That's the biggest thing that I can think to do with my kids. Like, I want to be able get on the internet, but think for yourself. Learn how to formulate your own opinions. And I remember this one time about 2 years ago when all the COVID shit was popping off. I told my daughter, I said, don't just blindly believe anybody. Don't just blindly believe the news. Don't just blindly believe your teachers. And she said, well, then why am I supposed to believe you? I was like, yes.
Got it.
I was like, don't believe me. Go look for yourself. Don't just believe me. You know, like that. I think teaching your kids how to have their own opinions and how to think for themselves and how to like if you hear everybody talking about something, like I've always been, that's the way I was raised. My grandpa raised me to, like, he was very smart, genius level IQ.
Right.
And I was kind of always the weird kid because while everybody else was brainwashed into believing something stupid, my grandpa would tell me they're a bunch of idiots. Here's the truth. And I would always end up being the one made fun of because, like, I know the truth about this and everybody else just believes a lie. And I used to feel kind of like self-conscious about it when I was a kid. But now looking back, it makes sense. So I'm raising my kids the same way.
Right.
To where it's like, I don't care what all your friends are talking about. I don't give a damn what your teachers are talking about. I don't care what you hear on the news. Go find out the truth for yourself. Because the majority of these people out here, the majority of your friends, the majority of your peers, at any given time in your life, when you're out there in the world, the overwhelming majority of the people around you, they're lost. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
They've piled somebody else's beliefs in their head that, you know, that's the only thing that that's the only piece of advice that I can give to anybody who has a parent. Like, my daughter is 12 years old and she's at that age where she's getting real impressionable and wanting to make friends and wanting to be cool and fit in and just planting those seeds of think for yourself and how to use your own mind, you know?
Yeah, and I think as a parent, you can't control a kid because, like, people might disagree with me, but I feel like the more that you tell a kid to be, they're going to be the opposite.
Yeah.
So the more in this community right now, they keep saying, don't look at trans, don't do it. They're guaranteed they're going to do it. Like, like everybody's so afraid of what they're being taught or what they're, I'm like, I get a lot of hell for this. And I'm like, I don't care. When the school came in and told me don't do drugs, that made me want to do drugs.
Yeah. Well,
when DARE officers came in and been like, I didn't even know what PCP was until I fucking got taught that in school. That made me go, And I tried PCP, you know what I mean? Like I don't even think you can get fucking some of that Sherm anymore, you know what I mean? Like I don't even think that shit. I don't even know if kids today even know what that shit is.
Probably not.
Fucking, I used to get some Sherm rolled fucking joints, you know what I mean? Fucking smoke that shit. Fucking, but like I didn't know about that till the cops told me not to do it, and then I'm like, what's behind that room? You know what I mean? And that's the weird thing is like I feel like if as a parent I'm going to be like. I remember my dad, the way he raised me was like, yeah, go do what you're gonna go do. Yeah. And then I would come back to him and be like, yeah, that was some weird shit. And he's like, yeah, I thought you'd figure that one out on your own.
Yeah.
And like that was the best parenting, that I didn't have controlling parents.
Yeah.
Because I was able to figure that shit on my own. Like, and I think kids are smarter than most of us adults. That's the other thing about the devil card is like the older we get. Timothy Leary used to say like, I do not trust people over 40. They're the people with metal, machines, weapons, the keys to the fucking jail cells. They're the people that are the most programmed in the world. But when you're under 40, you're thinking about love and positivity and friends and looking at the universe. And that was triggering for so many people when Timothy Leary put that out a long time ago. And I still believe in that way. Like, if you've gotten to a place where you're 40 and you're not fucking on that fucking tip of understanding the universe and you're controlling and all that, you're just going to go into that place of metal, machines, war, and all these things. All these people like, fuck yeah, fucking defend Ukraine and fucking put all this money into this shit. Like, that is the biggest mask ever. You got an actor as a fucking president who fucking wears the same fucking... The guy will go anywhere and ask for billions of dollars fucking wearing a fucking sweatshirt. Right? That dude's not, I don't see that dude on the front lines or dealing with any of this shit. All he is going around the world on private jets and shit and fucking taking all this money and all the coke that's fucking found there and all the corruption and all that shit. And it's just like, wow. People are really at this point, like, I don't know. You have to let people find it out on their own. And you can't be the devil back. I think that's the hardest part of the devil card is like, it's easy to be like, call out what the devil is. It's harder to then in yourself know I'm not going to be that too.
Yeah. Like, well, for example, a couple of years ago, my daughter came home from school wearing a rainbow bracelet saying that she's gay. And she was 11 years old. Now, at first, my mom is gay. I have a lot of gay people in my family. I have nothing against it. At first, it pissed me off because an 11-year-old kid shouldn't even know what the fuck that means. I know where this is coming from. It's coming from the fucking brainwashing. They're trying to brainwash the kids into being gay so that the population just dies off in a few decades. But I sat her down and I said, look, if you turn out to be gay because that's who you are, that's totally cool. But please don't do anything just to try to be cool and fit in. You know? So like what I want my biggest goal is to give my kids their own mind. So that, I mean, if you end up being gay, cool, whatever, fine. At least I ain't got to worry about possibly beating some dude's ass, you know?
Right.
So cool, that takes a load off my back. But nothing pisses me off more than to think that there are these people out here using the internet and these apps and all this shit to brainwash the kids, and my kids getting sucked into that. That's what scares me the most. So in my opinion, as a parent in today's day and age, if you have young kids, teaching your kids how to have their own mind and think for themselves is the most important thing you could do.
Yeah, and you can't force those thoughts either. It's just like, literally, like at least just being there and just being like, hey, supportive, and make sure that this is just really what you really want in life, you know? Like, I remember when I went and bought my first fucking tape. It was the Beatles, because I thought I had heard the Beatles. Everybody was talking about the Beatles. And I bought the Yellow Submarine fucking album, and it was the worst shit of my whole fucking musical. I don't even like to admit it to this day. And my dad looked at me when I had the tape, and he went, "You know now how much they suck, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I now know how much they suck." And fucking, you know, and then that's when I fucking, Candlebox was the first fucking album I bought, and I was like, there we go, fucking, all right, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was looking for. But just because, you know, you'd heard that, Beatlemania, you'd heard Beatles, right? It was just like, I'm going to go, and I saw it, and it was the first tape I bought was Beatles, and what did it do? This sucks. Or even as I'm a house DJ, but I used to be into trance, and I went and bought the first trance CD ever that I had bought, and I remember going, where's the bass? Where's the Shit's just like, I'm like, thank God fucking I found house. And I'm like, oh, that's what I was looking for. So you have to like explore in this life and you have to figure it out. And like, that's where Christianity is created, you know, kids that fucking become so fucked up because they just tell them like, you are not going to do this. You are not going to do that. You are not going to do this. Well, guess what? They're going to go do it. Trust me, all those little fucking Catholic schoolgirls. One of my girlfriends in high school was a Catholic schoolgirl. And oh boy.
Yeah, they used to.
She was willing to do the shit that no other girls were willing to do because she was fucking Catholic schoolgirl.
She was being told she can't.
Because she was told that she can't.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that used to drive me nuts when I was a kid too. That, you know, all the other kids would have on like Led Zeppelin T-shirt or something like that. When I was in junior high, everybody be wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt, and I'd go out and buy a Led Zeppelin album, and I'm not a fan. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I didn't like it. I was like, that's not cool. What the fuck? And I started being like, now either A, I'm really fucking weird, or B, y'all don't like it either, and you're just doing it because that's what everybody else is doing. Right. I couldn't figure that out. It's like everything that everybody else was into. Like, what is the chances that of all these 200 kids I'm surrounded by, I'm the only one who doesn't like this thing that everybody else likes? I don't believe that. I believe that you're just getting sucked into what everybody else is doing, and you're just trying to be cool. You don't like that fucking music, you know, just like what you just said. And
well, I mean, that's what happened in rock, like real rock and roll and punk or metal or any of that shit, right? That was like, that's dark, don't go there. And it's like, actually, that's where like the real lyrics are actually meaningful and actually like talking about shit that I can relate with and what they've gone through and how they've gone through it. Opposed to singing about, I don't know, fucking, I'll be there for you. like, wait, what? You'll be there for me? I don't think so. Or the rave scene, like, was the worst thing. Cops everywhere. Parents used to call it the devil, and the Christians called raving the devil. Like, and Joe Biden himself created the fucking Rave Act. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it was Joe Biden who created the Rave Act. Like, the promoter, we will put him in jail for 30 years of the event. And I can't believe that, you know, 90% of the dance community is fucking Joe Biden lovers. Like, I'm like, wow. It blew my mind to be like, this place about love and plur and all these like universal love and all this shit turned into, no, let's be authoritarian. And then, no, unless you got the vax, you can come to this music show. Like, the music industry showed itself how dark it was right away. Like, oh yeah, you can't come to this concert unless you got that. Like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, because the whole energy is ass backwards. I mean, just to think about too, the word liberal, like the people who claim to be liberal. If you want to take what being liberal really means, me and you are more liberal.
I know.
Like, you're not liberal. Like,
that's the devil right now, is the mask that it's liberal when it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like being to, because I think my daughter asked me the other day, what does liberal mean? And I said, it means free. Freedom to be who you are and whatnot. And like, the people who are claiming to be liberals are the people who are trying to cancel everybody and say, you have to say this and you can't say that. And you know, it's all about authoritarianism. That's like the opposite of liberal. And that's the way the devil works. Everything is ass backwards and flipped around and so easy to get sucked into, you know?
Yep. Well, I wish I can keep going on this one. We'll have to go on other podcasts, and we're coming up with another show here soon too. That's going to be a little bit more of some of the subjects that we've been kind of going into. But I have to go. But fucking awesome one.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
Look at that card, and I know it's easy to be like, well, yeah, go have fun or go have a good time. You have to know your boundaries. Nobody's here to judge you in life. And you know what? Whenever you walk into that card, you're going to find good things and you're going to find horrible things. And it depends on how you deal with it, really. Mm-hmm. But, all right, everyone. Much love to you all. See you on the next one.